What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and depending on when I am recording this video, it may be Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but either way, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday it may be that you do celebrate. I hope you have a great day. And today I'm going to be talking about a movie that I didn't think I would talk about, and that I actually have a lot more to say about than I thought I would, and that is No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie that came out a couple months ago, and it is the final film in the Daniel Craig James Bond series. Now, if you didn't know, I'm not really like a James Bond fan. I didn't grow up with it. It's not my favorite action franchise. I think the Bourne movies and the Mission Impossible movies are more consistent in quality than the James Bond films. There are so many of them. I haven't seen that many. I've seen all the Daniel Craig ones, and I believe I saw one of the Pierce Brosnan ones. I think it was called GoldenEye, and from what I saw from that movie, the older James Bond movies just are like extremely sexist kind of products of the time, and I just don't think that I would enjoy watching any more of those. But I've enjoyed the Daniel Craig films on varying levels. I really like Casino Royale and Skyfall, as I feel everyone does. And I don't really remember anything about Quantum of Solace or Spectre. Spectre does play very heavily into this one, but I don't really remember anything about it. I don't remember disliking them while watching them, but there's nothing particularly memorable about them. And this one I feel is definitely up there. I'm not sure if it is as good as Skyfall or Casino Royale, but it's a very enjoyable movie that takes a lot of elements from Spectre that were not particularly memorable there, such as the Christoph Waltz character or the new love interest who kind of carries over to here, and kind of makes them more compelling. They're able to create a more memorable story surrounding a lot of elements from the previous film, and I enjoyed it. You know, it's obviously less sexist than the older ones. It's more inclusive. The new 007 is this black woman, I believe, played by Lashana Lynch, and I remember there was a big controversy about that. I don't know why, because I guess people are racist and sexist, but I thought she was a pretty good supporting character. I like that, you know, there's a little bit of a rivalry there between her and Bond, and that they actually ended up being kind of co-workers or teammates. I actually quite liked that. I really like kind of all the cast members. I think they all do a great job playing their characters. And I was really surprised by how moved I was by the story of Daniel Craig's James Bond. From what I understand from the older movies, Bond just kind of reset in each movie, and he was kind of this womanizer, assassin guy. But in this series, he feels more like a person. He feels human, and less like a superhuman guy going around beating people up. And it really does kind of all culminate here. This film very much feels like it's built as an emotional conclusion to his character arc. And as that, I feel it works really well. Once again, I'm not super passionate about the James Bond series. I don't have a personal connection to it, but I was surprised by how moved I was by the end of this movie. He has put in a lot of kind of strenuous, intention-filled scenarios in this movie related to just his physical well-being and also the well-being of people who he cares about, and it is kind of a tense movie. Speaking of tension, this movie had fantastic action sequences. I would say this film has the best action I've seen since Mission Impossible Fallout from almost 4 years ago. You know, there's some great chase sequences, particularly in the opening. There's a stunt from Daniel Craig where he jumps off this bridge and grabs this rope. Fantastic. There's a chase scene in a forest. And towards the end, it started to feel like it was going on a little bit too long with the whole going around the bad guy's lair, shooting people, and there was like an endless wave of goons, and it just kind of felt like it was dragging on a little bit, because the movie is very long. It's almost 3 hours, and for the most part, it does not feel its length, and it does feel deserving of that length because it is built as this kind of epic culmination and conclusion of this James Bond's story. But I did feel like it dragged on a little bit towards the end. And the villain, played by Rami Malek, can feel a little bit cliche. His motives are fairly, cliche. He's got the classic, oh, you killed my family, so I've got to kill the world sort of thing. He's kind of like Zemo from Civil War, but even more crazy. But at the same time, that didn't really bother me. He's not on the same level as Le Chiffre or Silva from Casino Royale and Skyfall, respectively. But I don't feel like he was intended to be as good as those characters. This film is primarily structured as kind of the tip of the hat, the conclusion to James Bond's story, or Daniel Craig's Bond's story. And thus, I feel like the villain was not intended to be a major part. The former villains that I mentioned do kind of play an important role, because Mads Mikkelsen's Le Chiffre is kind of this somewhat sympathetic character, because you understand where he's coming from. He's trying to basically achieve the same goals as Bond. And in the third film, Javier Bardem's Silva is kind of a guy that feels betrayed by the government or the system that he worked for. So there's like a certain connection that you have with that character. But in this film, Rami Malek does not play a particularly memorable or charismatic or interesting villain, but I don't feel like he was intended to, because the story is mostly about the hero. He plays somewhat of a foil to James Bond, but they don't have like a personal deep connection or anything, but I feel like he worked fine as an obstacle to be overcome. As long as the story has a purpose and it's focused on either the main character and his connection to the villain, or just on the main character, if the villain isn't that interesting, then I think it's fine, as long as he serves his purpose for the protagonist. And in this film, I feel like he did. And overall, I just felt like it was a very enjoyable film. It was structured very well. I felt, once again, it was deserved of the length. And maybe my biggest problem was that Hans Zimmer composed the score for this movie. And Hans Zimmer has composed some really fantastic and memorable music. The Dark Knight scores, Interstellar, too many to count. But I felt like his score for this movie was so obviously ripped from The Dark Knight Rises. There was a point in this movie where there was a track playing in the background, and I was like, that's from The Dark Knight Rises. I understand that Hans Zimmer's kind of getting older, but come on, man. Did you really have to copy and paste your composition from The Dark Knight Rises? Like, I could almost hear the point where it was supposed to transition into the Batman theme. It was so similar at points. There were some good tracks, don't get me wrong, but there were multiple points clearly said out loud, this is a track from The Dark Knight Rises. And just overall, once again, as a person who doesn't really have a personal connection to the Bond franchise and doesn't really care about it. I haven't seen any of them except the Daniel Craig films. I feel like anyone can really get anything out of it. It's an entertaining action movie on its own, but also as a continuation of the Daniel Craig Bond story, I feel like it kind of wraps everything up satisfyingly, and it is a kind of emotional and poignant conclusion to the story. So this is definitely one that I would recommend to those of you who haven't seen it. I know that there's some people that are kind of down on the Daniel Craig James Bond franchise, particularly after the previous film, but I feel like anyone can really enjoy this. It does take elements from the previous film and just kind of makes them better, makes them more memorable, surrounds them with a more interesting story. And I really enjoyed this movie, and it's definitely one of the better ones of the year. Yet again, it is 2021, so that's not saying much. But I would recommend this film to those of you who are even just remotely interested in it. Even if you don't have a connection to the James Bond franchise, I feel like you'll get something out of it kind of on an entertainment level and perhaps even on an emotional level. I thought it was just a really well done movie. So that's pretty much all I have to say here about No Time to Die. You guys please let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Have you seen it? Are you going to see it? Just once again, whatever your thoughts are, please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.